Hey, what's up guys, it's Nate. Today we're actually going to be taking a look at an application that I built a couple years ago. That application is called the Primary Market Area application, and it was designed to help organizations better understand not just who they serve, but where they live, where their markets are, and also better understand what the demographic profiles look like of not just their customers, but also the communities in which they serve. So let's jump into the PIMA and let's start working through it. Alright, so now we're inside the web application. Right now what you should be able to see is a band, really, that has the name of the organization up top, and then there's two buttons. One button is called Map, the other one is called Reports. This application is broken up into two basic paradigms. One is an interactive digital map that lets you kind of explore your organizational footprint, where your centers are, what the, let's say, important polygons or shape, geospatial representation of your market area or drive times around your market area. And then the other one, the reporting, takes the information that we're exploring in the interactive map and actually binds some household level data for your customers and some community-based data for the communities in which you serve. So what we're going to do is we're going to jump into the map. Let's open that up, and what you'll see is a control panel over here to the left. This is where you select the locations in which you want to explore, and also the different variables that you want to turn on, turn off, the attributes in which that exist on the map, and really start to build out or answer questions that you might have. So I'm going to jump in here. I'm just going to pick a location. We grab a location. The first thing we're going to do is, now that we see our location here on the map, is just show some drive times. Drive times are exactly as they sound. It is the area encompassed by a drive time of this amount. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Now you can start to understand, if I was to pull from 20 minutes out from my location, what might that look like? What communities might that include? What roads might it include, etc. You can really start to explore and get a better sense of what's around you, and really some sense of closeness, right? How far away are these areas from you? So isochrones are cool, but where are my actual customers? Well, let's turn them on. So I'm going to turn off our isochrones. I'm going to go in there and grab members or customers, and as you can see, the customers come in the same color scheme as the point for the center. So if we zoom in, you can see that these points are refreshing. They're pretty light. It's a light, like pink, that's not pink, a light peach color maybe. I'm not really sure what that color is, but the points on the map are all clustered together. You can see a lot in here, which is right around where the center is, of course. But now, if we turn, let's say we turn some of these, turn this 10-minute drive time on, we've got members that are coming from far away. Look at how far away some of these people are coming from. Way out here, right? And that's great. It's great that you're pulling members from all those areas, but it doesn't necessarily help you define your market in a meaningful way. Because if you were to blow this out to try to grab all those members, look at the size of this area. This is 20 minutes. 20 minutes probably would grab. You still got people that are way out here. So you wouldn't be able to grab everybody unless you had like a 25 or even 30-minute drive time. And that's huge. That's huge. And just because that's as far as your members are willing to drive, it doesn't mean that's your primary market. So how might we determine that? Well, we actually built a kernel density application, or a kernel density API rather, where we pass the members in, or the customers in, and it actually does an optimization routine to find the smallest contiguous polygon that encompasses 80% of the members or the customers. And that is how we define a market area. That is what we feel like is your true market. So if we turn on that 80% PIMA, what you'll notice, let's turn off members, is that shape is a little bit bigger than a 15-minute drive time in some areas, but smaller than a 20-minute drive time. So let's say we're around a 17 or 18-minute drive time. 17 or 18 minutes, but that shape holds 80% of your members. That is a very good representation based on the behaviors of your members or your customers, right? These people have decided to interact with you, to transact with you, to have a relationship with you in some form or the other. Now, radius is commonly used, drive times are commonly used, and I think those things, absent any first party information around who your customers actually are or where they live, I think that those are fine. But if you know the location of your customer, if you know where they live, and you have a physical location in which they are coming in to do business, I absolutely think that using a kernel density function to build a primary market area based on some percentage capture, almost like a catchment basin, is absolutely the best way to go. So that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the 80% PIMA for this location. We zoom in a little bit, you can see it lit up right there. I'm going to turn the opacity down some, and what we're going to be doing is just running through a couple of the other attributes that we have on here. We've got membership type or customer type, financial aid. For a gym, they might want to know who's a family, who's a senior, who's an adult. For a credit union, maybe they want to know who's got a home equity line of credit, who's got a credit card, who's got a checking account. But the point is, these are attributes that can be assigned and paired with a point on the map that represents an individual household. So now you can start to really dive in and say, okay, well, not just do I want to see where my customers are, but I want to see where my customers are that have credit cards. Maybe there's some type of interesting thing for us to look at as far as the patterns associated with that. So again, those attributes could be anything. Anything that you have in your database or your CRM that might be compelling, you could append to that record and be able to basically theme so that it's represented inside the application. Now if we move down below member themes, we've got block group themes. Block group themes are really interesting because now what we're looking at is we're looking at the median income within a block group that is within the market area that we just defined. So a block group, for those of you who don't know, is probably the smallest unit of measure or the smallest statistical unit that the census uses. It's roughly between 500 to 1,000 households is how I've heard it described. And basically, if you think about a zip code's very common, you might have one zip code, and that zip code might have 25 block groups within it. So block groups are really the best way, absent first-party information about a household, as how you might be able to project an income, an ethnicity, distribution, etc. onto a geospatial location without knowing specifically who that person is. If we knew that a person lived within this dark green block group, that dark green block group has a median income between roughly 70,000 and 100,000 versus some of these other block groups that have much lower median incomes. So again, first party data is obviously the best, but if you don't have that, a block group is a very useful way to get some insight into the socio-demographics associated with somebody that might live there inside that block group. We've got median income right here, same thing for ethnicity. We can come in, toggle between various ethnicities to get a sense for what do the ethnicity profiles look like across my market, right? Is there a theme there? Am I in a neighborhood that might be very urban and might be a good mix of African American and white, or is it a predominantly white neighborhood, or is it a predominantly African American neighborhood? Being able to visualize not just where your market is, but then also understand the demographics within that market, that really will help from a messaging standpoint, right? It might sound silly, but if you're going to have a postcard or a flyer, you want the imagery on those things to represent the target audience, right? If your target audience is 65 plus, or you think they're 65 plus, and you're sending these things out to block groups that have a median age that is significantly lower than that, you're going to miss the mark, right? It's not going to resonate with the people that are receiving that mailer. So just again, another way to use community-based statistics once you've defined your market to help you make informed decisions from a marketing standpoint. Penetration rate as well. How well are you doing inside of a block group from your customer base? That's also very interesting. And then of course, the standard zip code. One thing that is really cool about zip codes that paints a really good picture when it comes to block groups, we'll go up here, is if we look at this block group, you can see that this block group falls within a zip code, but that this zip code has many block groups. Probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, maybe 11 or 12 different block groups within one zip code. So a lot of times you'll see zip code statistics and it's great, but it's just not as not a low a detail as a block group. So if you can always take block group level data, roll it up to the zip code, but you can't easily take zip code data and push it down to a block group. So just something to consider. So those are our themes. One other really cool thing that we've got built into this is the ability to change the base map. So right now, this dark theme looks really, really good with this light peach color, not to be confused with pink. Primary market area. So now you can really, really see that shape. It really pops off the screen. And if we put our members on now you can really, really see them. It's much easier. If you did have something interesting where you did want to maybe explore a certain area and start to understand, oh man, maybe why don't I have any members in this area right in here, you can come in, switch it to satellite, and if we look in here, well, it looks like a lot of these are probably wetland areas and ponds, and there doesn't look to be a whole lot of houses in there. So just very quickly you can toggle between street view and satellite view and a dark mode and a gray mode, and it really just helps you explore and then really start to understand what the area looks like that you're serving, right? And then once you understand that, oh, okay, well, maybe we can start doing some things a little bit differently now that we know that this is actually our primary market area, and this is where we should focus a lot of our time and attention and build our customer profiles off, because this is what actually is representative of where our customers are, where they're coming from. So this is just the first section of this application. There's a whole reporting section that we'll get into later, but for now I just wanted to introduce you to these concepts, show you how I intended them to be used in really the marketing and advertising space, and hopefully that helps. Hopefully that makes some sense with you. Hopefully that maybe triggers some ideas. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd love to hear them, love to answer them, love to understand if you're doing something similar or have any other ideas. It'd be great. So until next time, see ya.